Now we are finding the relation between gamma and alpha. We had this cube there. This had a side of L. So its volume becomes L cube. If we differentiate this volume with respect to this length here, we get dV by dl being equal to 3L square. This dV is nothing but a small change in the volume. This is similar to what we had as delta V there. So if we remember what we earlier said about delta V, we see that this becomes equal to the initial volume times gamma times the temperature difference. Let us write it as dt here. This dl, small dl, this can also be represented in form of the original length times alpha times the temperature change. If you replace these two in this expression, we get V gamma by L alpha. This becomes equal to 3L square. If we rearrange this, we find the left hand side has V into gamma and the right hand side has 3 into L cube into alpha. This L cube here is nothing but V. So this V and this V cancel off. Thus we get gamma as 3 alpha. This is an important relation we should remember. So if we have been provided with alpha somewhere, we can easily find what the gamma will be. And if we are given gamma somewhere, we can easily find what alpha will be. In this topic, let us also look at another small part known as the variation of density of a gas with temperature, or let's say the variation of density of any body with temperature. We know that if we have a body and we heat it to a higher temperature, the body generally tends to decrease its density. Now what is that decrease and what amount of decrease takes place on a certain temperature gap? We will be deriving that now. So now we have variation of density with temperature. We know that density is proportional to 1 by volume, provided mass is constant. This is valid if we have just like if we have a given mass, say valid for a given mass. Say we have a cube and whatever things we do on it, let's say we heat it, its volume expands. So if its volume expands, we will be having a drop in its density. So what is that going to be? So this holds, we can say that rho v is a constant. Say we heat that small cube which we had of a given mass of say m, we heat it and we find that the volume changes to say v plus delta v. If we have rho v as constant, then rho initial into v initial should be equal to rho final into v final. Now, if temperature was increased to T plus delta T, we know that this results in a change in volume. So the new volume the new volume of the cube is going to be V plus delta V. Delta V, as we found out, was V gamma delta T. Therefore, rho initial V initial is going to be rho final into V final is nothing but V initial plus V initial into gamma into delta t. So this is going to be V initial times 1 plus gamma delta t. This V initial cancels off from both sides. This results in rho final becoming equal to rho initial divided by 1 plus alpha delta t. Now, since we have this and we say that this quantity is very small than 1, which is going to be the case in almost all our calculations. We will be generally dealing with metals, and metals have a very low gamma and alpha both. So if gamma delta t is very less than 1, we can expand this expression binomially, which is basically 1 plus gamma delta t to the power minus 1. This can be written as approximately 1 minus gamma delta t. Therefore, rho final is going to be nothing but rho initial times 1 minus gamma delta t. This shows that our initial intuition or initial rough assumption of density decreasing with temperature is true. So if this delta t is positive, that means the temperature is increasing, the density will be decreasing. Similarly, if we have a decrease in the temperature, that is delta t is negative, we will be having this entire expression positive, and thus we will be having an increase in the rho of the material. Next, we look at something called the thermal strain. By thermal strain, what we mean is if we heat a body, the body tries to expand. If we are somehow able to prevent that expansion, what is really happening to the body is the stress level or the stress concentration within the body is increasing. You might have studied this in your elasticity, where you try to pull a rod. Let's say we have a rod like this. You try to pull this rod from both ends, and in the process, the rod deforms or increases its length by say an amount delta L. This is nothing but a strain induced in the rod, which is measured in form of delta L by L, L being the initial length of the rod. In the same way, we will be having a thermal strain being induced in the rod had we had a situation something of this sort. Say we have a rod, and say this is clamped at both its ends in between two walls or two supports. So this rod has a length L and coefficient of linear expansion alpha. What we do is we heat this rod, which let's say was at temperature T. We heat this rod to T plus delta T. So this rod tries to expand, but because of these clampings, the rod cannot expand in this direction. Because we consider a linear case, any deflection in the transverse direction is neglected. So the delta L, which is induced in the rod, will be L into alpha into delta T. Therefore, strain, which is induced in the rod, will be equal to delta L by L, which is nothing but alpha delta T. We have strain, and from theories of elasticity, we know that stress is equal to Young's modulus times strain. The stress, let's say here, is F by the cross-sectional area. So this becomes equal to the Young's modulus times the strain being equal to alpha delta T. This gives us the force applied by this clamp at both its ends to be equal to A into Y into alpha delta T. This is the force by which the clamp holds or supports the rod at its two ends. Provided this situation is on an elevated temperature, please note that the force here we calculated is only if there is some delta T. Otherwise, what we had initially, it was just an idealization of a situation where the rod is just held by two walls without any force of contact between these two ends.